I think I know, knowing the state of my well-being. Kaya i-ready po natin yung ating mga sarili. Yung mga ready na po dyan, mag-chat naman dyan ng ready. Ayan, kasi I'm sure na mas makikilala po natin yung mga sarili natin tonight. Ayan. So bago po ang lahat, recap lang po for the last. Yan, ang daming ready. Sino yung mga ready? Ayan, ready na sila Pastor, sila Mark, sila Andy. Ayan, ang dami. Thank you po for participating. So, sabi ko nga po, recap lang tayo for last 3 Sundays. We had 3 important topics about our mental health. Yung una is yung loneliness. Pangalawa, anxiety and fear. And pangatlo, depression. So, siguro po let's give time kahit isa lang or dalawa na makakapag-share kung ano yung mga tumatak sa inyo. Na learnings or any principle lang or ayun, mga basically mga natutunan nyo lang po talaga from this series. Ayan. Pwede po kayong mag-unmute or pwede rin pong mag-chat. Babasahin po natin. So kahit isa or dalawa po. Ayan. Huwag po kayong mahiya. I'm sure meron. Sino po yung mga busog na dyan sa sa learnings. Ayan. Ang dami, nag-uunahan sila. 19, parang may dumagdag tayo. Welcome po sa mga bagong pasok. Meron po ba? 5?
Siguro ako na lang, Nikki.
Or kahit yung recently lang. Ay, Pastor, sige po.
Okay, siguro yung natutunan ko especially last week about depression, yung importance of tamang pag-approach, tamang pag-usap dun sa taong nagsasuffer in depression. Napakalaga talaga pala na makinig at makidalamhati dun sa tao, no? Hindi natin ko-condemn, hindi pala nag-work yung mga yung talagang sabihin mo lang yung verse sa Bible, then or sasabihin mo dapat patatagin mo yung faith mo, ganun. Hindi pala nag-work yan, no? Kasi kailan talaga yun nga yung empathy, tapos may kasamang sympathy na rin. Tapos yun, just being there with the person, napakahalaga na hindi mo siya iiwan to the point na yun nga, especially pagka dumating sa point na suicidal, yun, dapat talaga hindi iniiwan, andyan palagi sa tabi niya. So yun.
Yes.
Thank you, Pastor Phil and Paula, for enlightening all of us. No? Lang.
Ayun. Thank you, Pastor. Ayun, ako din po ako ang tumatak naman sa akin yung sinabi naman ni Pastor Paula nga na treat the organ as it is, yung brain daw natin. Na hindi, parang pag may problem yung mental health natin, ay, lang yung kulang ka sa prayer, hindi. Pwedeng, yun nga may medication din talaga siya. So, treat the organ that it is, parang yung baga mo lang or yung chan mo, kung may masakit yan, kailangan din ng medication. So, same as sa brain natin. But of course, syempre magpapakonsult po tayo. Baka dumiretso na agad tayo. So, yun. So, sino pa po? Baka pwede pong share tayo kahit isa lang po. Isa pa. Tapos proceed na po tayo. Wala po.
Nahihiya na magsalita.
Oo nga. Go, tita, ikaw. Meron.
Sa akin siguro yung mga differences ng depression, sa bipolar, sa anxiety, tapos yung loneliness. At least alam mo, pagka ganito loneliness lang ako kasi baka mamaya depression ka na pala, mamaya may bipolar ka na pala. O kaya hindi, mas deeper na pala sa loneliness, anxiety na pala, mga ganon. At least alam mo kung ano yung i-categorize mo doon sa isang tao. Saka kung paano mo siya haharapin yung ganitong may mga mood ng mga tao. Ganun pala
Thank
yun.
you. Thank you, Sister Edna. Oo nga po, no, maganda, ito nga talaga na-identify natin. Lalo na ngayon sa social media nga. Ang bilis lang, ay depressed ako, nalungkot lang, ay depressed ako, ganyan.
Nagiging
Ay,
expression
anxiety.
ng depressed.
Yes, parang ano na lang siya, normal na term lang, depressed ako, ganyan. Pero, teka lang, kulang ka lang pa sa kain. Puyat ka lang pala, kain ka lang. So, tama-tama. So, another learning. So, thank you po, Tita Edna. Ayan, so, I guess, okay na po. Pwede na po tayo mag-start. Bigay na po natin yung trono. Wow, trono talaga. Kay Pastor Philip, of course, together with Pastora Paula. Welcome po again.
Oo, so magandang gabi sa ating lahat. So napakinggan ko, excited pala kayo, no? Alright. So, sige. May mga ilang tests that pwede nyong gawin na lang siguro after ng ating session, no? Because they're a bit long. Dapat kasi masasend to kay Pastor, nakalimutan lang din kasi sobrang busy this week, no? Sobrang daming webinar and I've been doing a lot of group processing. So anyway, meron kasi isang test na 60 items siya. So wala tayong time to get the results today. So siguro pwede natin yung pasadahan next time or next week kasi may next week pa naman tayo. All right? So anyway, we're going to talk about knowing and understanding our well-being more. Okay? And so I think I know, knowing the state of my well-being. So again, yung topic natin, nandito na tayo sa 4th week. No, ang dami na nating napag-usapan, no? Parang feeling ko, part na ako ng church ni na Pastor Mark. Feeling na ni Paula. I mean, of course, we are part of our universal church naman. So, we are brothers in Christ, right? Okay. So, yung roadmap natin for today, we want to talk first on the importance of self-awareness. Kasi ako nakikita ko yung assessment, yung pagtitake ng mga tests, mga psychological tests. It's not just for diagnosis, but more importantly, self-awareness. Okay? Para maging aware tayo doon sa mga things na meron tayo sa personality. You have to understand, yung mga tests na to underwent rigorous process, no, of validating. Ibig sabihin noon, parang ang daming mga nag-take ng test niyan, tapos ipaprocess nila sa statistics para ma-capture lang yung isang phenomenon. Para ma-capture na ito talaga yung nagme-measure sa particular traits or particular behavior. Alright? So may science behind assessment. And then of course, we want to define what assessment is. Para saan ba ito? Bakit ba natin pinag-uusapan to? Bakit importante na malaman natin o magkaroon tayo ng self-awareness? So we also want to talk about the importance. Tapos kung paano nagda-diagnose ng mental health disorder. Okay? So I will try to make it simpler kasi baka mamaya I'm gonna talk about some psychological so much psychological concepts, no? Pero I promise to you that I will try my best na hindi maging technical sa ating mga discussion. And then of course, yung we have to be very careful on self-diagnosis. Kasi minsan meron tayong iti-take na mga online tests. Tapos sasabihin natin, naku, lalo na yung naging nauso yung isang test na DAS-21. Ipapatake ko din sa inyo yon, pero hindi ibig sabihin na yung result, di ba, mataas yung scores mo sa depression, may depression ka na. No. Kasi yung test na yon, self-perception siya. Ibig sabihin, ano yung nararamdaman mo. So what necessarily you feel is different sa observation, say, ng isang mental health practitioner, particularly psychiatrists and psychologists, no? Nauso yan yung may isang month ng 2020 na sobrang parang nakikita kong mga sinishare ng mga friends ko yung DAS-21 na parang hindi kasi yan ginagamit na pang-diagnose yung test na yan, no? Kasi self-perception. Okay. So I would like everyone to please get a sheet of paper a small sheet of paper and a pen. So can you do that? Okay, we're gonna start with, I don't know, with a questionnaire on measuring our, mental well-being. Okay? So I'm gonna give you time for that. Or pwede naman sa phone ninyo kung meron kayong extra gadget. So pwede nyong ilagay yung test nyo doon. Okay? So get a piece of paper. Hindi to kailangang malaki. No? Kasi mga 8 statements lang to. Mabilis lang to. Okay, so we want to know the state of your mental health based on this questionnaire. All right. So itong questionnaire natin is the short form of Warwick-Edinburgh Mental Wellbeing Scale. So ang kanyang acronym is SWM EMWBS. Alright, so masyadong mahaba yung acronym niya, no? So, short Warwick-Edinburgh Mental Wellbeing Scale. So, may papakita ko sa inyong mga statements about your feelings and thoughts, no? And please choose the number that best describes your experience of each statement for at least 2 weeks. Alright? So, itong last 2 weeks na to, basically so can you please number your paper from 1 to 8? Kasi 8 statements lang to. So, put 1 to 8. Alright? Tapos, ang isusulat niyong sagot is either 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So, anong ibig sabihin nun? So, yung 1, ibig sabihin nun none of the time. 2, rarely. 3, some of the time. 4, often. And then 5, all of the time. So, if for example, itong isang statement na to, lagi-lagi mo siyang nararamdaman or iniisip, that means all of time. Alright? So, like every day, ganun yung nararamdaman ko. So, our first statement, I've been feeling optimistic about the future. Is it none of time, rarely, some of time, often, and all of time? Alright? I've been feeling optimistic about the future. Second, I've been feeling useful. I've been feeling useful. Right? That's the second statement. None of time. Kung hindi nyo talaga yun na experience, then none of time. No? So you put number 1 as your answer. Number 3, I've been feeling relaxed. I've been feeling relaxed. 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. I've been feeling relaxed. Alright? Okay na? Okay na po ba tayo? Punta na tayo sa next natin. Okay. Our next set of questions or statements. I've been dealing with problems well. I've been dealing with problems well. Number 5, I've been thinking clearly. I've been thinking clearly. Number 6, I've been dealing with life challenges well. I've been living with life challenges well. Alright? Okay na po ba tayo? Doon sa, na to? Sa part na to? Okay, good. So punta tayo sa last 2 statements. I've been feeling close to other people. I've been feeling close to other people. None of time, rarely. Okay, some of the time. And then lastly, I've been able to make up my own mind about things. I've been able to make up my own mind about things. Right? So, pwede kong balikan yung mga statements para pwede nyong i-review. So, ito yung first 3, number 1, 2, 3. Okay, so you can review your tasks and all. All right. The next set of questions or statements. The next set. Okay, by the way, disclaimer lang, dito sa mga test na gagawin natin, hindi tayo magda-diagnose ha. Okay? Kasi yung mga test for diagnosis ng mga mental health disorder ay mas mahaba dito. Ang mga test to diagnose say a mental health disorder is about 175 items, no? Minsan nagto 200 items pa yan. Okay? And mahirap yung i-score, no? So kasi may mga stencils yan, kaya mahal ang psych assessment. Ang psych assessment costs about 15 to 25K. So meron na yung intelligence test, no? Meron na yung mga personality test, yung mga ipapakita ko yung mga sample ng yung mga ginagamit hindi naman lahat, pero yung mga test usually na ginagamit. Mahal din siya kasi mahal bumili ng mga psych test. Like yung isang packet ng intelligence test that costs about 30 to 40K. Although may return of investment naman siya agad kasi kung isang assessment 25K, bababawi mo agad yung ginastos mo doon sa So medyo mahal siya. Kaya unfortunately, pag halimbawa sa mga communities, na yun yung struggle ko. Kasi kung halimbawa meron akong, kapag kausap ko sila, tapos meron na akong sa pantaha, yung meron na akong iniisip na diagnosis for the person, hindi ko agad binibigay yun kasi kailangan ng test. Kaya lang problema, paano kung wala silang pambayad? Diba? So, anyway, pag nakuha niyo na yung 1 to 8, kindly add it up, total nun. So, pwede kayong gumamit ng CalQ. So, dapat ang pinakamataas nyong makuhang score is 40. Alright? Pinakamababa is 8. Alright? So, add that up yung inyong mga nilagay na scores for each number. Alright? Okay na po? Na-add up na natin. Okay, so anong ibig sabihin ng mga raw scores nyo? Alright? Tadadadan. Sige, ready na ba kayo? Ano ang mga raw scores nyo? I wonder kung ano mga raw scores nyo. No? So, pag ang nakuha mo is 30 to 40 yung score mo, ibig sabihin yan, very strong ang iyong mental well-being. Alright? Kung ang score mo is 20 to 29, kinakaya. Alright? So, average yun. Kinakaya mo pa. No? So, sa mental health spectrum kasi meron niyang health. Pag 30 to 40, ibig sabihin niyan very healthy ang iyong mental health. No? Pag nasa 20 to 29, maaring struggling ka and coping, pero kinakaya. Pero kung less than 19 yung iyong raw score, you might need, so hindi ito again diagnosis ha, you might need processing of the mental health and baka kailangan mo magpa-assess and all. Alright? So, ibig sabihin baka nasa crisis mode ka na kayo. So, anyone who wants to share your another scores, or you might want to use the chat for that? Okay. Ano yung mga nakuha yung scores? 35 si Pastor Mark. Wow. Very, very strong mental health ni Pastor Mark. Okay? Okay pa pala. Alright? Alam nyo sa mga Christian circles, every time I give this test, majority na kukuha is very, very strong. Okay? Marami din ang nasa average, no? I think the factor is because of our faith, no? Very important yun. Parang I think factor yung faith natin. Bakit ganoon yung mga results natin? Okay? So, yeah. Kung halimbawa you're less than 19 yung iyong score and nahihiya kang, you don't need to share your score. Okay? But you can message me privately para baka kailangan mo ng processing, or si Pastor, baka kailangan mo ng counseling. Okay? So, yeah, mamaya meron pa tayong, I think, 2 more tests. Okay? So let's just talk about the importance of self-awareness. Do you remember yung sinabi ni Dr. Richard Davidson na isa sa mga pillars of a healthy mind is self-awareness or awareness. Okay? So, importante na magkaroon tayo ng self-awareness. At itong gagawin natin, yung discussion natin ng assessment, is basically trying to understand yung yung self-awareness. Sabi sa isang blog no? Self-awareness is the ability to accurately recognize one's emotions and thoughts and their influence on behavior. This includes accurately assessing one's strengths and limitations and possessing a well-grounded sense of confidence and even optimism. So nandito yung parang meron kang objective view on your strength. No, you're not overestimating yourself and you're not underestimating yourself. Okay? Alright ba yan? Kasi kung minsan pag nag-overestimate ka ng sarili mo, baka meron kang narcissistic tendencies. Pag meron ka namang ina-underestimate mo yung sarili mo, baka meron kang depression, no? Kasi very low yung self-esteem mo. So, gusto natin na yung awareness balance siya and objective. Okay? And hopefully, at the end of our session, at the end of our discussion, magkaroon tayo ng ganun, no? Na accurate yung ating understanding ng self. Okay? Sabi ni Debbie Ford, self-awareness is the ability to make an honest look at your life without attachment to it being right or wrong. No? Kasi sa assessment din, meron tayong tinatawag na, what do you call this? Desirability. Yung tendency mo to project yourself as good. Usually, nakikita mo yung desirability scores pag nag-a-apply ka ng trabaho. Tapos may psych test ka, di ba? May psych test na ibibigay sa'yo. Siyempre gusto mo yung mga statements, ang gagawin mo dyan, positive lagi yung mataas yung scores mo. Pag mga positive yung mga sentences and statements, di ba? So, social desirability yun kasi gusto mo na maging desirable doon sa HR. Okay? So, pag halimbawa, minsan yung mga ibang tao, natatakot silang magkaroon ng assessment kasi ayaw nilang malaman kung anong meron sila. Right? They don't even want to undergo, say, counseling or therapy kasi natatakot silang malaman yung unknown. Kasi we have been comfortable with the comfort zone. But you have to understand that the unknown is also the zone for growth. Are you with me? Okay? So, when we get out, knowing ourselves more, mas nagiging aware tayo, you go out of the comfort zone into the fear zone, learning zone, and then of course, for growth. So for me, ang assessment, knowing ourselves better, especially of course, bilang mga Christian in the image of God, ang ginagawa naman natin dito is for growth, 'di ba? Spiritual growth, personal growth, yan. Okay? So, also, yung assessment, you remember this, you Harry window, 'di ba? Ang assessment gives us a perspective para mas malaman natin yung ating sarili so that it can be open. No? So, nung nag-assessment ako dati, hindi naman disorder yung lumabas, pero may personality pattern pala ako ng avoidant, na may tendency ako to be avoidant. Tapos, hindi ko alam yun dati, hindi ako aware na avoidant pala akong tao. When I took the test, nalaman ko, may tendency pala ako to be avoidant. Tapos, nung na-realize ko yun, okay, so may tendency ako to avoid conflict, may tendency ako to avoid my emotions. Nung nalaman ko yun, naging intentional ako about things, na kung may kinakaharap ako na problema, hindi na ako nag-avoid but confront it, assertive. Okay? So hopefully, yung some of the tests that we're gonna take brings you a sort of realization, tungkol sa inyong sarili. Okay, may mga barriers for self-awareness, especially yung may bias tayo. Alright, sa ating sarili. O kaya naman, meron tayong unwillingness to seek feedback. Ayaw natin na may masabi sa atin yung ibang tao. Right? Okay? So, isa yan sa mga major barrier ng self-awareness. Bakit important ang self-awareness? Para ma-understand natin yung sarili natin in relation to others. Makapag-develop tayo and implement ng strong self-improvement programs. It can help us in having meaningful life and career goals. Yung mga clients sa clinic, pag halimbawa nakakaranas sila ng mga symptoms, tapos hindi nila maintindihan yung symptoms nila. Tapos by the time na ibibigay mo yung diagnosis sa kanila, that gives a relief for them na may name pala yung karanasan ko. May label siya, may name siya. So, ibig sabihin, dahil nga may name yung karanasan ko, yung experience ko, then I can do something about it. Okay? So, what else? It helps understand or manage others effectively. It can increase productivity and all. No? So, yung mga first part yung very important para sa ating discussion. Yun. The thing is, ako naniniwala kung may assessment sa Bible. Di ba? Okay? Not like superimposing or spiritualizing the text. Pero if you're going to look at narratives, even for example, yung pag-choose ni Samuel, no? Ni Judge Samuel sa First King, si King Saul, parang dumaan yun sa assessment. Hindi ba? Of course, may ibang standards ang Lord. Right? Okay? Kung paano pumili ng mga leaders sa Bible, for example. Pero feeling ko yung ganoong sense is like an assessment. No? Even yung assessment ng Lord on what is holy and what is not. Pagdating doon sa temple, di ba? Parang may ano yun eh, parang dapat ibigay mo yung best of the first crop, of the first, di ba, of the first flock that you have, right? It's always the best. So parang may assessment siya on what is acceptable and not. Tapos, meron ding kwento doon yung disciples, no? Yung, di ba nung namatay si Judas Iscariot, tapos pipili sila ng isang papalit kay Judas Iscariot. Tapos what they did was to look at the of the leaders doon sa early church. Tapos they were able to pinpoint, o sige siya, kasi okay yung leadership niya, okay yung ganito. Are you with me? So, kaya, and I think also ginagawa natin yan sa church, di ba? Especially in choosing leaders, our pastors, no, our ministers. Okay? Parang meron tayong ginagamit na criteria and assessment kung sino yung magiging leader or minister ng say isang what do you call this? Isang ministry. Okay? So, yung psychological assessment, ano siya, integration siya ng mga data from test, interview. So, hindi lang yan basta-basta test, no? May interview pa yan, observation, no? Okay? I'm gonna walk you through with that. Tapos, ang goals ng assessment is basically to understand person's strengths and weaknesses and even potential problems, no? Kung meron man. Para makapagbigay ng magandang recommendation. Okay? So, bakit important yung assessment and screening? Kasi nagko-contribute siya doon sa information and data about the person and person's traits and capabilities. Tapos, nag-i-integrate yan na may interpretation ng information. So, yung purpose niya is, of course, makapag-provide tayo ng understanding sa strength, lifestyle ng isang tao, makapag-identify tayo ng risk and vulnerability. Di ba minsan, pag halimbawa may case tayo sa church, pag-uusapan natin, oh, baka kasi ganun siya, yung family niya kasi ganito. No? So, you are identifying the risk. Di ba? So, napag-usapan natin last time yung precipitating factors, yung mga protective factors. Ito yung mga factors that you consider para mas maintindihan natin yung experience ng isang tao. Alright? What else? So may mga risk factors tayo na pwedeng, halimbawa, yung iti-take nyo later on after our, for next week na, yung NEO-PIR, yung personality test. Malalaman nyo kung introvert kayo, extrovert kayo, kung ano kayo, kung agree, kung ano ba kayo, open-minded kayo, may openness to experience kayo, o medyo rigid kayo, doon yung malalaman doon sa test na yan. Anong tawag dito? Yung kadalasan, according even sa studies, no, yung mga matataas ang introversion o yung mga considered introvert, higher yung risk nila to experience depression. Okay? Pero hindi ibig sabihin na pag introvert ka ay depressed ka, hindi. Higher lang yung risk mo to actually experience depression. Sino yung mga introvert dito? Meron ba? Or do you know kung introvert kayo or extrovert? Or extrovert? Introvert ka, Paula?
Mga 97%.
Oh, really? Hindi ba siya nag-change nung nag-take ka ulit?
Nag-change siya recently. I think nasa 90. Oh, that's a lot.
Okay. All right. How about the others? Do you know if you're introvert or extrovert? Ikaw, Pastor Mark, do you know if you're introvert or extrovert?
Hindi ko alam eh. Pero ako extrovert, I think extrovert ako kasi mas kinukuha ko yung energy ng mga tao. Pag maraming tao, parang sobrang saya ko. Pero pag mag-isa na lang or pagka hindi ko naman sinasabi na malungkot. Siyempre, masaya ako pag kasama ko wife ko. Mag-isa. Pero
Right.
iba yung feeling pagka daming tao. Kaya na-miss ko na rin yung mag-church.
Ang napansin ko ngayong pandemic, maraming mga extrovert ang nakakaranas ng depression. Yung mga introvert, they're enjoying the quarantine kasi, di ba, they love to be alone, yung mga ganon. Pero mga extrovert, dahil nga hindi pwedeng mag-travel, hindi pwedeng gawin yung mga things that they used to do, parang bored na parang ano ba, feeling ko I'm out of my wits already. So marami akong mga extrovert na clients ngayon na ganun yung mga reklamo. Okay? So if you're unsure pa, ay darating yung yung test, yung magiging result nyo by pag-usapan natin siguro briefly next week, no? So ibibigay ko kay Pastor Mark yung link and then meron agad kasi yun na result, no? Tapos you copy na lang yung result. Tapos let's try to interpret that next week. Okay? Okay po ba yun?
Yes.
Alright? And minsan importante din na malaman natin kung sinong introvert or extrovert para at least we can somehow know kung saan sila ministry pwedeng ibigay, no? Yung mga ganon. So pag introvert yan, usually ayaw niya na nasa harap to to speak and mag-lead. Usually. Hindi naman lahat. Kasi yung ibang introvert, they can be extrovert at certain situations. Okay? So of course, yung purpose niya is magkaroon tayo ng benchmark on self-awareness, more importantly. So paano ba yan nangyayari? We want to understand if my symptoms, my problems. Tapos, sabi ko nga dito sa ginagawa natin ngayon, hindi naman tayo nandito para mag-diagnose. Okay? So ano yung mga things to consider, especially kung may behavioral problem? May tinatawag tayong presenting problem. Ibig sabihin ng presenting problem, ito yung behavior that na-observe ng family o na-observe ng ibang tao na kailangang solusyonan. Halimbawa, nag-self-harm siya. So that's a presenting problem. O kaya naman hindi siya kumakain ng 1 linggo na, puro lang tubig. Hindi naman siya nagfa-fasting. So that can be a presenting problem. O kaya naman bigla na lang siyang migaw-sigaw kahapon nang walang dahilan. So that's a presenting problem. Tapos, usually pag may presenting problem na ganyan, dadalhin sila for for check-up, tapos ida-diagnose looking at the social and behavioral history. Okay? So, ano ba yung mga major symptoms, no? Gaano nakatagal yan? Okay? Paano nakaka-apekto yung symptoms na yan sa functioning ng isang tao? Diyan mo makikita yun sa presenting problems. Okay? So, usually, ito yung process na nangyayari. No? May clinical interview, okay, using, for example, the mental status examination, yung MSE. Tapos, ito yung mga itsura ng, ng mga test na ginagamit sa para sa personality para ma-diagnose yung isang tao kung may disorder siya. Ang favorite kong gamitin is itong MCMI, no? Melon Clinical Multi-Axial Inventory. Okay, so yan yung paborito ko. Ito 175 items to. Ang MMPI is 310 ata na items to. Okay? So ganun siya ganun siya kahaba, no? So hindi yan natatapos ng 10 minutes. So kailangan niya ng mga ilang oras bago mo matapos. Okay? Ito yung iti-take nyo, pero the short version. Kasi itong version na to, yung ibibigay ko sa inyong link para ma-test nyo yung inyong personality, is 60 items lang yon. This one, yung itong Neo-PyR na to, yung original form is 240 items. Okay? So masyado siyang mahaba. Alright? So, meron din tayong mga personality test na katulad ng ganito. Ang tawag dito is ink blot. No? May ipapakita to sa inyo ng psychologist. Tapos sasanungin kayo, anong nakikita mo? Sige nga, anong nakikita nyo?
Can I answer?
Oh, sige Paula. What do you see?
Parang I can see a bat, an angel.
Okay. Alright.
What does that
How about
mean?
the others? What do you see?
Dalawang angel na magkatalikod.
Ako po
Alright.
isang angel lang.
Okay.
Na walang ulo. Weird.
Butterfly. Okay.
Ano lang?
Fox.
Fox. Okay. Alright.
Ito yung eyes. Ito yung kanyang ears. Yung mouth niya.
Okay.
Mm.
Monster.
Interesting.
Monster.
Oh, interesting yung mga sagot nyo, no? Interesting siya kasi normal. Kasi meron niyang manual na pinapakita na dapat ito yung normal responses. Ngayon, pag sinabi nyo na nakikita nyo ang isang alien galing sa ganitong planet or something, that is not normal. Are you with me? Okay? Kadalasan sa Rorschach, pag ang lagi mong nakikita is animals, it's either you have low IQ or pagod ka and hindi ka na makapag-isip masyado doon sa dapat mong makita. Alright? Pero yung mga nabanggit nyo kanina na bat, na fox, these are actually normal responses. No? So nasa ano yan? Nasa manual yan na normal responses. Ngayon, if beyond this one, diba nakita mo dito, may nakita akong fairy. That's unusual. Alright? Unusual yung response na yon. And it might, it might point to a personality disorder. Okay? So, may mga interpretation. Yan. So, kaya sabi ko sa inyo yung assessment really is a science. No? Pinag-aaralan siya. Tapos, meron din tayong tinatawag na thematic apperception test. No? So, dito, may ipapakita sa inyong picture. Tapos, sasabihin sa inyo, sige nga, anong nakikita mong kwento dito? Anyone who wants to volunteer? Anong kwento yung makikita nyo dito sa picture na to? Yes, Paula, do you want to answer?
Yeah, bibo ako today.
Sige.
It's parang may hawak siyang merong violin and merong violin in front of him.
Mhm.
Para siyang iniisip niya paano niya aralin how to parang he is thinking about how he can study learning how to play a violin.
Mhm.
Am I
Mhm.
normal?
Oo. So ano sa tingin mo ang kanyang nararamdaman dito? Itong person na nandito sa ating picture.
Para siyang yung parang what do I do? How do you explain that emotion? Yung parang baffled at parang
Aha. Aha.
parang ganun. Bewildered. Hindi naman bewildered pero parang other term than confused. Hindi siya confused, pero parang
Mhm.
puzzled, ganun.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Parang why do I have to do this? Parang ganon.
Ganun.
Okay.
Parang
Ayan.
yung expression na yung UGH, ganun.
Okay, okay. So yung ganito, ipapakita sa inyo yung picture. Kadalasan ipapasulat yan sa inyo yung sa paper. Okay? Para gumawa ka ng story based on the picture. Paano i-interpret yan? Kadalasan yung mga tao, halimbawa meron silang ang point kasi dito is that pinoproject mo yung sarili mong story doon sa picture. Okay? So, titingnan niyan yung mga responses mo doon. Tapos kung, halimbawa, kunwari, parang sa mga lahat ng pictures, laging gano'n yung sinasabi ni Paula na, why do I have to do this? Yung mga gano'n, yung nakikita niya lagi na. So, ibig sabihin, yun yung theme ng perhaps buhay ni Paula at this point. No? So, yun, isasama yun sa interpretation. Okay? So, meron din tayo nung tinatawag ng mga sentence completion test. So, meron yang mga incomplete sentences tapos ipapa-complete sa'yo. Alright? So, halimbawa, I feel that my father seldom blank. Then, i-complete mo yon. I always wanted to blank and then i-complete mo yon. Alright? At maraming mga tema na makikita dyan. No? Okay? So, okay. Are you familiar with the Myers-Briggs personality test? MBTI. Sino na nakapag-take ng MBTI?
Me.
What's your MBTI?
Me?
Paula.
I've taken the test in 2016. Tapos every year ata ako nagte-test. Siguro madaming beses per year. Pero hanggang ngayon, INTJ pa rin ako.
Ikaw, Pastor Mark.
Ako dyan ESFP.
Oo.
Yan ang naalala ko dun, ESFP. Yeah.
Oo. Napakasikat ng Myers-Briggs personality test. Pero sa psych, hindi namin siya kino-consider na valid test. Right?
Oh.
Bakit? Oo, bakit hindi siya valid? Kasi yung theoretical foundation ng MBTI is not faithful to the original theory. Okay? So kasi ang itong test na to, based siya dapat sa theory ni Carl Jung. Tapos sinasabi niya, ang major personality natin, it's either introvert or extrovert. Tapos yung all the other T, F, S, I, J, P, dapat under siya ng introversion, extraversion. Do you get my point? So ang ginawa ng MBTI, ginawa niyang magkakapareho ng level yung 8. Right? So, kaya hindi siya ginagamit kasi theoretically questionable siya. Alright? Although, unfortunately, ginagamit siya intensively sa mga private companies, no? Alright? So, pwede din kayong mag-take nito, bale, online kasi may mga available tests online on MBTI. Alright? Ang result ko dito is INFJ, the counselor. Right? So, parang consistent naman, no? Kasi parang yun yung, yun yung career ko, yung track ng work ko, no? So, pero even yung reliability niya is medyo mababa. Okay? So, kaya hindi siya masyadong pinoconsider. Another one, do you know your Enneagram? So, this is based on our faith traditions, di ba? Okay? So, hindi ko
Yes,
alam if
I
you
know.
know. Do you know?
1.
Okay. How about you,
Tapos
Pastor?
yeah, okay. Sorry.
Ay, sige, Paula. Ano yung sa'yo?
Nakalimutan ko, di ba parang 1W, tapos may isa pa yan, di ba? I forgot the other number. I'll search.
So anyway, ikaw, Pastor Mark, do you know your Enneagram?
Naku, nakalimutan ko na to. I think parang challenger yata ako and then helper.
Okay.
Hindi ko lang nakalimutan ko na eh. Parang dalawa yan eh.
Ayun. So maganda din yung ano niya, theoretical portion ng Enneagram. Unfortunately, hindi din siya valid, no? Hindi mataas yung kanyang validity and reliability pagdating sa statistics, no? Kasi may mga measurement po yan kung paano natin ginagawa. Yung binigay ko sa inyo na test kanina on mental well-being, mataas ang statistical reliability at parang 0.8 ata. Okay, dapat kasi ano yan eh, it's either 0.6 and up yung reliability measures niya. But anyway, unfortunately, ang Enneagram ay hindi mataas ang kanyang statistical measures. So, goodbye Enneagram. Joke lang. Okay. Yung ibibigay ko sa inyong test, this is medyo mataas ang ano nito. It is very valid. Maraming mga studies that was written about this. And ito yung 5 big traits. Big 5 traits. The extraversion, neuroticism. So, ibibigay ko kay Pastor Mark yung link nito para ibigay sa inyo, ha? Okay po ba yun? And you're gonna do this after na lang nitong ating session. Alright? So, malalaman nyo yung level of emotional stability, extraversion. So, halimbawa, doon sa spectrum ng extraversion, pag high yung score nyo dyan, ibig sabihin yan, outgoing kayo, energetic. Pag low ang score nyo dito sa extraversion na part, ibig sabihin nun, introvert kayo, quiet, withdrawn, and assertive, no? Kadalasan ang mga Christians mataas sa agreeableness, no? Okay? Warm, considerate, good-natured, okay? Expect nyo na yan, na kadalasan ang mga Christian mataas ang agreeableness, no? Very few ang Christian na very low or aloof, no? Yung hindi namamansin, yung ganon, na hindi welcoming. Sa conscientiousness naman, madalas dito pag low ka ang conscientiousness mo, artist ka. Kasi ayaw mo nung mga structure and all, no? Pag ano ka naman, pag yung tipong nasa corporate ka, tapos management yung position mo, or pastor ka, mataas usually ang conscientiousness niyan, no? Kasi yan yung mga nakikita natin, no? Sa emotional stability naman, yung neuroticism na tinatawag, pag high yon, ibig sabihin stable and confident ka. Pag low ang ang emotional stability mo o yung neuroticism mo, ibig sabihin yan, mood or may tense na or something like that. Pag neuroticism mataas, ibig sabihin nun, may tendency ka to experience depression, yung mga ganun. And then openness to experience, no? Okay, so ibibigay natin yung test na yan kay Pastor Mark. And pwede nyo yung, meron na yan agad result pagka nagka-take kayo, 60 items. Pero i-wait nyo lang, i-copy nyo lang yung result nyo or screenshot nyo. Tapos we're gonna discuss that next week. Okay po ba yon?
Yes.
Okay? All right. So another way of understanding the big five, so you would rather have this big five test kesa yung MBTI saka Enneagram. Okay? So may no? Okay. And then may ibibigay din ako sa inyo na DAS-21. So ibibigay ko din yung link na to kay Pastor Mark. Dito malalaman nyo if meron kayong vulnerability to experience depression, anxiety, or stress. Okay? And again, that's something that we will discuss next time pag nakuha nyo yung scores nyo. Okay? Pero, okay, ano lang to ha? Reminder na kung mataas ang naging score nyo sa depression, it doesn't mean that you have clinical depression. Ha? Okay? Pag mataas yung anxiety nyo na score, it doesn't mean na meron kayong anxiety disorder. Okay ba yun? Hindi to diagnosis ha? Hindi gagamitin tong test na to for diagnosis.
Okay.
Alright, yes. Okay? So, yeah. Alright, so I want you to get your pen and paper again. This time we will be measuring self-compassion test. Okay? So, put number 1 to 12. So this is the first, again, it's about your feelings and emotions. All right. So yung first sentence is, when I fail at something important to me, I become consumed by feelings of inadequacy. So ito yung value ng mga never, rare, sometimes, often, always. So bakit may R dyan? Ibig sabihin reverse yan. Reverse yung scoring niya. Alright? So kung ang sagot nyo never, ang way niyan is 5. Alright? So kaya may ganon. So titignan nyo yung value niya dito sa baba. So when I fail at something important to me, I become consumed by feelings of inadequacy. Never, rarely, sometimes, often, or always. So ang magiging sagot niya is either 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then if you go sa number 2, different yung scoring ha. I try to be understanding and patient towards those aspects of my personality I don't like. Okay? Right? So ang magiging ano nyo dyan is either 1, kung never, 2 rarely, 3 sometimes, 4 always, and 5. 4 often and 5 always. Alright? Okay. So nandiyan naman yung weight ng magiging scores nyo for each number. Then number 3, when something painful happens, I try to take a balanced view of the situation. Right? When something painful happens, I try to take a balanced view of the situation. All right. For number 4, when I'm feeling down, I tend to feel like most other people are probably happier than I am. Number 5, I try to see my failings as part of the human condition. So ito yung scoring niya, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 kung never ang sagot nyo, 2 kung rarely, 3 sometimes, 4 often, and 5 always. And then lastly, when I'm going through a very hard time, I give myself the caring and tenderness I need. Okay? Tapos na po ba tayo dito sa first, ano? Okay na po ba tayo?
Opo.
Alright. How about the others? Okay na rin po kayo? Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Good. So punta na po tayo sa second set ng ating statements. Okay na po tayo? Okay na po ba tayo? Alright. If you're done, hindi pa po. Gusto niyo po bang balikan natin yung first set of questions? Or ano? So, pag natapos na po kayo, i-add nyo lang po ulit yung inyong mga scores, no? So, ang pinakamataas na score na dapat yung makuha dyan is 60. Okay? Okay, na-add niyo na po ba? Na-add niyo na po ba yung inyong ano? Okay na po? Na-add niyo na? Or not yet? Medyo mahaba po yung pag-a-add nyo, no? Kasi mas marami to compared kanina. Okay, so ano ba yung number, meaning ng inyong raw scores? So kung ang raw score ninyo is 50 to 60, that means you have very high self-compassion. Pag 40 to 49, that means high self-compassion. Pag 30 to 39, moderate yung inyong self-compassion. Pag 20 to 29, low self-compassion. And pag 19, below 19, may self-judgment. So ano pong ibig sabihin ng self-compassion? Ibig sabihin nito, mabait ka sa iyong sarili. Pag nagkakamali ka, you're not being too hard on yourself. Ngayon, kung mababa po ang inyong score dito, ibig sabihin yan, you might be being too hard on yourself. You're beating yourself too much. Right? Na parang yung thinking mo, makasalanan ako, it's all my fault. This is all my fault. Kung hindi dahil sa akin, hindi sila maghihirap or something. So you're beating yourself too much. Right? I wonder kung ano ang inyong mga scores dito. Naku, magkakaano na tayo. Minsan ang mga Christians ay very self-judgmental, no? Or yung we're beating too much of ourselves. Na parang, di ba? Kasi parang ang taas ko minsan ng standards natin. Anyone who wants to share their score? Wow, so marami ang mataas ang self-compassion. Nakakatuwa naman to. Alright. Okay. This is good. This is good result, ha? Oh, okay si Ma'am Tana or no. So, parang kailangan ni Ma'am Tana ng counseling from Pastor Mark. Joke lang. So, so I hope that itong mga scores natin, joke lang yun, Ma'am, ano ha, Ma'am, pangalan na si Ma'am Tana. Okay? Joke lang po yun. Okay? Pero kung mababa yung self-compassion natin, that's ano ha, that's a message to us na parang saan nang gagaling mo? Bakit ang baba ng ano natin ng compassion natin sa ating sarili? No? Minsan kasi we are being parang compassionate tayo sa ibang tao, kind tayo sa ibang tao, pero pagdating sa ating sarili, hindi. Maaaring nagkamali ka before na hindi mo mapatawad yung iyong sarili. Okay? All right? So, yeah. So punta tayo dito sa self-diagnosis. And I think this is the last part of our sharing. Then punta tayo sa sharing ni Paula sa walk niya in assessment, especially doon sa kanyang experience ng diagnosis and all. So please let's be beware of self-diagnosis. No, sabi dito sa caricature na to, so tinatanong siya ng doctor, no, ano nangyari. Tapos sabi niya, I already diagnosed myself on the internet. I'm only here for second opinion. So minsan, di ba, pag nakakaranas tayo ng mga things, no? Titingin na tayo sa Google, ganyan. Kaya lang, instead na makatulong yon, mas nafe-feel natin na parang something is wrong. So self-diagnosis is okay? So, lalo na pag mga yung mga sakit-sakit na anything na sakit. Okay, wag tayo mag-self-diagnose. So yung self-diagnose is a process of diagnosing, identifying medical condition in oneself. So maaaring ginagamit natin ng dictionaries, books, resources in the internet, past personal experiences, no, na parang hindi, ito yung sakit ko. So halimbawa, nagkaroon ka ng migraine, tapos nag-Google ka, bakit ako migraine? Tapos ang makikita mo sa Google, naku, ang may cancer, ang may heart disease. So, ano sa tingin nyo ang mangyayari pag ganito yung nag-Google nyo? How would you feel? Anyone? Paula, have you experienced this? Na parang Paula, are
Yeah,
you
yeah, sorry, nag-lag yung internet. What's the question again?
have you experienced this? Yung parang mag-self-diagnose ka? And
Ay, hindi.
i-google mo siya. Hindi naman.
No, I'm more on educating myself about my illness.
Okay. Alright. This is good. Okay. Oo, kasi natatakot tayo pumunta sa actual na doctor. Even pagdating halimbawa sa mga mental health, di ba? Kaya may stigma ayaw natin na pumunta. So, ang nangyayari, kaka-google natin dun sa symptoms, mas kakabahan tayo, no? Okay? So, sabi sa online quiz, I'm depressed. But it doesn't mean na kung yung online quiz na yan ay mataas, depressed ka na. Alright? So, sabi ng doctor, okay? So, pagpupunta ka sa doctor, may mga free magazine, mostly accurate. Ang ang struggle is ang hirap mag-set ng appointment. Do you agree with that, Paula? Ang hirap mag-set ng appointment, no?
Yes.
With my therapist, no. With my psychiatrist, there was a point during this pandemic na medyo mahirap. Kasi
Yeah.
parang I think hindi kaya ng secretary niya to respond right away because baka maraming nagpapa-appointment.
True. Okay? Pag by yourself yung diagnosis via internet, convenient siya. Yun nga lang, ang struggle dyan, ang mako-conclude mo usually is you're gonna die. Kasi parang na-heighten yung feelings na parang, hala, ito yung nararamdaman ko, kahit hindi naman. Napaka-subjective kasi. No? Wala ka namang. So yung dangers ng self-diagnosis, no? Nakakakos yan ng stress kasi feeling mo nga, it will lead to death. No? Taking ineffective or even mixing medication sometimes, no? Minsan mas gumagastos ka pa. No, nagkakaroon ka ng mga unnecessary costs. It can lead to unreliable sources and even sometimes sharing fake news. No? Nami-misinterpret mo yung mga symptoms mo and mas lalo kang nakukonfuse. Tapos pag gano'n yung nangyayari, na-stress yung mga doctors, no? So please wag tayo mag-self-diagnose. Alright? Yeah, Paula, do you want to talk about your journey sa assessment?
Yes, sige, sure. I'll share something very quick lang din. Hi. You don't look so okay because I'm in the house. Anyway, right, wait lang. If I do this, can you still see me po?
Hmm?
No. Can you still see me?
Hindi po.
Fair
Okay,
lang.
hindi. Yeah. Alright, no worries. So kasi, of course, nangyari yung, when it happened, it started when, maybe you're asking, kailan nga ba talaga, when is the right time for us to seek professional help? And paano yung unang step na kailangan natin i-take? Siguro po, yung sa akin kasi, my journey started when, yung nga, nasa ATS ako, and I was already taking my master's degree. And then, I think it's that time when yung load ng papers at readings from ATS really took a toll on my mental health already. Kasi I was, I didn't know. I was walking around undiagnosed pala. And after that, nag-start mag-deteriorate yung mental health ko, and it eventually affected yung performance ko sa seminary. And na-notice yun ng isang professor kasi parang I almost failed a subject. And he was the one who advised me to seek professional help. And that's the time that sabi, hindi ko alam actually, nagtatanong ako sa mga tao. And then I remember sa ATS, Philip was there, and then we started talking, nasa bench and all that. And then he mentioned na parang, yeah, he can do the diagnosis. Pero prior to that,
Parang random pa yun, Paula, no? We're not even close yet.
Oo, hindi pa tayo close nun. And then I asked, parang pumunta ako ng UST for, I think it was for a therapy, pero hindi pa ako diagnosed nun. I was hoping na makakakuha ko ng diagnosis. That's why I went to UST Psychotrauma Clinic. But hindi pala sila nagre-release ng diagnosis. So that's the time I called East Ave. And then when I called East Ave, nalaman ko nga na parang nasa 11K yung diagnosis. So parang na-shock ako. Parang I did not expect na gano'n. Parang I need it na talaga, ganyan. Kasi nga, naapektuhan na yung studies ko, ganyan. So I remember messaging Philip and he was so nice and, compassionate na mag-extend ng help sa akin. So I was able to get my diagnosis a few weeks later and he referred me to a psychiatrist and that started my journey. Siguro few things I want to share, a few things na I prepared very quickly para sa iba na baka kasi just in case na magkaroon kayo ng diagnosis. Maybe your question is that what's gonna happen after I receive a diagnosis? Maybe you're gonna think na why did this happen to me? Or paano niya maapektuhan yung life ko? Or anong iisipin sa akin ng ibang tao? I also had those questions. But I got comforted by the Lord in 2 Corinthians 1 verse 4 where it says there, I'll just read the verse po. Where it says there na he who comforts us in all our affliction so that we may be able to comfort those who are in any affliction with the comfort with which we ourselves are comforted by God. So that was very, of course, comforting for me kasi I remember praying to the Lord na parang I considered my mental illness or my mental disorder as a thorn in the flesh. If you can remember the Apostle Paul when he was praying na, Lord, parang tanggalin mo to, ganyan, and hindi tinatanggal ng Lord, ganyan. So parang nakita ko na, I think my mental illness is like a thorn in the flesh. Pero, nagkaroon ng shift, ng parang paradigm shift when I encountered this verse, and the Lord spoke to my heart na, maybe, yeah, you have this affliction, but I don't want to cry here, pero, but I can use you in the lives of so many other people also. I'm sorry. In the lives of other people also. So parang, like now, diba? Who would have thought na parang I would start doing this, like raising awareness on mental health. We have a little organization helping trying to help people as well. Just this morning, I conducted a talk for 100 teachers ng isang national high school, educating them about mental health also. And I mean, napanood ko nga sa isang preaching na we are the salt and light and you are an influencer one way or another. You can be an influencer in a small group, in a large group. It's not necessary na may YouTube account ka, hindi yun yung gauge kung may influence ka. So parang for me, I know na ito yung purpose, may purpose si Lord for my pain, and that for me is enough to keep on keeping on and to never give up on myself. I'm such a crybaby. Pero yun, siguro, the one thing, few things that I want you to know is to be hopeful. Even if you get a diagnosis later on in life, I want you to know that you are not alone in this journey, of course. And you can still improve and achieve your goals despite having mental illness. Maraming tao ngayon na nade-diagnose sila may serious mental illness. Mine is a serious mental illness, but I can still do things and improve the quality of my life. May mga bagay na pwede kang gawin for you to be able to manage your condition and you can regain the control of your life, over your life. But you have to play an important or an active role in your treatment. You really have to be intentional when it comes to your treatment. I remember when the Lord spoke to me about the intentionality and willingness was in the story of the woman the woman bleeding for 12 years na nakita ko doon nga no, sabi ko kahit anong gamot or psychotherapy yung ilapag sa'yo, if you're not willing and intentional to achieve your healing, they cannot shove it down your throat. Even the Lord cannot shove it down your throat, right? And because you also, aside from intentionality, you have to inform yourself about your illness and your treatment so that you can direct yourself to recovery, right? Hindi yung hindi yung magugugol ka lang na okay, ito yung ito yung diagnosis ko. No, but you can research about your illness. The moment I learned about my illness, I watched every video that I can watch. I read books and articles that I can read, so that I can educate myself about my illness, so that I can also educate others na, okay, if, alam mo yun, kapag may mood swings ako, this is because ganyan. I mean, I can educate them, and so we can live in, we can live in harmony, right? So you can learn, you can do research, you can also work with your doctor, right? So that you can make decisions that are right for you. Hindi yung ipipilit mo, okay, sige, dito na lang kasi ito yung doctor niya. No, hindi naman siya kailangan ng ganun. Also, you can talk to people who have mental health struggles as well. You can talk to mental health professionals. And itong step na ginawa po ng church, no, is also a good initiative, so that you can start seeking professional help for yourselves. So if you get diagnosed, nagawa mo na yung mga yon, of course you have to get emotional support as well. Important step when it comes to coping with the diagnosis is finding emotional support. And when I say emotional support, you can talk to your family, to your friends. If you come from a dysfunctional family, this is what I learned from the Willoughbys. Philip knows about this. Na you can create, families are not tied by blood alone. You can create families outside your biological family, and the church is a family, right? It's a community where you can get emotional support. And don't be afraid to let people know that you have a diagnosis. Yung support na to will really be important, sorry, as you begin your recovery. And you also have to understand also your healthcare options. Understand yung na yung doctor, psychiatrist, therapist mo really are those who can are fit for you. Because, like, for example, in my case, I had the psychiatrist. He's not a bad psychiatrist. He's actually good. Kasi at the onset, alam niya, may bipolar 1 to. Na parang hindi pa nasasabi sa kanya ni Philip na ito yung diagnosis niya. Alam ko na, parang, how good can you be? Parang I was thinking, ang galing niya. Pero nagkaroon kami ng struggles because he was a guy, hindi niya naiintindihan yung desire ko to also have children in the future. Yung medicine ko during that time was not allowing me to have my menstrual period. So, nafa-frustrate na ako. Nafa-frustrate din siya sa akin. No, I'm just kidding. Nafa-frustrate na ako na parang hindi ako nagkaka-period, Lord. So, diba, and that's okay. That's okay to seek second opinion and go to another psychiatrist or another therapist that you would be more comfortable working with. So when you work with a psychiatrist, with a doctor, with a therapist, you have to, share how you're truly feeling. You really have to be honest. Kasi hindi naman sila makikipagkompetensya sa feelings natin. They're not gonna be like our friends na, kung sinabi mo, grabe yung pinagdadaanan ko, I'm so down, di ako makapag-toothbrush. Ako nga ganito yung problema ko ikaw hindi ka lang makapag-toothbrush. Wala akong ibang maisip, toothbrush lang po talaga. But the point is, our peers have the tendency to, like, ako nga yung may ganun, diba? Pero in therapy, they won't do that. Your psychiatrist won't do that to you. They will never invalidate your emotions. They will never invalidate what you're going through. They will never invalidate your pain, your invisible pain, right? So you can be open to your therapist, to your doctor, to your psychiatrist, and you can involve also your friends and your family. Create a small circle, like a group of friends that you can really be comfortable with and whom you can trust. And may sinabi sa akin yung I want to end with something that my psychiatrist told me before na hindi ko maalala. Hanapin ko, but yun lang. That's what I want to share. Hanapin ko.
So, in other words, Paula, you're saying that yung diagnosis, naging self-aware ka what you're going through also help para doon sa intervention, no? Tama? yung proper intervention. Kasi siguro for ano din sa iba, may mga naging clients ako sa clinic na ano sila, parang ang dami na nilang gastos and ano sila, what do you call this, paikot-ikot sila ng mga therapists. Oo, going circles, no? Kasi hindi sila mabigyan ng proper diagnosis. And kung hindi nabibigyan ng proper diagnosis, mas tumataas yung chance na mas kagastos ka. Right? So, yeah. So, nakakalungkot yung ganoon. Kasi may mga
Ay,
therapists kung...
ito, yung nahanap ko na.
Sige, Paula.
Yeah, nahanap ko yung sinabi ko sa akin. So, she told me before na in this difficult world, you have to learn to validate yourself and to pat yourself on the back. You won't need the comments of other people once you have a sense of self-appreciation and, you know, self-awareness as well. Yun lang, I want to share that kasi it helped me to parang to trust myself more and siguro to trust myself more when it comes to directing myself uh to recovery. Siguro one thing that I can also add is that um be religious with be religious with like taking medications, going to your not skipping your therapy. Alam mo yon, kasi yun nga, dun papasok yung pagiging intentional mo. If you really want to improve the quality of your life, you really have to be intentional. And I can talk more about that, yung holistic approach na lagi kong ina-advocate next week. Yun yung topic naman next week. Pero yun, be intentional kasi that's also biblical. I mean, to love yourself, right? Hindi naman self-love is being selfish, but the Lord also wants us to take care of ourselves so that we can also look after other people since we are our brother's keepers, right? So you can never pour from an empty cup, sabi nga nila. You have to take care of yourself. Advice ko would be for you to, yun nga, get the diagnosis, and then after that, sabi nga ni Philip kanina, getting a diagnosis doesn't stop there. Once you get the diagnosis, the road, that's just the beginning. It's the beginning to the road to finding the treatment and, you know, directing yourself to recovery.
Thank you, Paula. I want to end our presentation with a children's story, which is called Many Moons. Okay? So I found this book on a book sale a few years ago. So this was written by James Thurber and Louis, so illustrated by Louis Slobodkin. Okay? So I'm not sure if you're familiar with this story. So the story goes like this. In a kingdom, one day the princess got sick. All right. And so the kingdom was, I don't know, was in chaos because the princess got sick. So she became sick to a point na hindi siya kumakain, hindi siya nakakatulog. So the king was very, I don't know, was very worried about it. Sabi ng king, I will get you anything your heart's desire. Is there anything your heart's desire, my princess? Sabi ng princess, yes, I want the moon. If I can have the moon, I will be well again. So, syempre na problema yung king, no, when he learned about the demand of the princess. Because he know that it's impossible to get the moon. No? So, ano siya, very worried na siya, no, hindi na din makakain yung king, yung gano'n. So, pinatawag niya yung royal physician. Sabi niya gano'n. Ay, hindi, yung royal mathematician. Sabi niya gano'n. Please get the moon for me. Sabi niya gano'n. I've been supportive of your career. This is the only thing I've been asking you. Please get the moon. So, kinalculate nung mathematician. Sabi niya, my king, my lord, hindi yan, sabi niya, pwede. I can't do that because ito yung distance. Sabi niya gano'n. Okay? So, it's impossible to get the moon. Sabi niya gano'n. So, pinatawag ng king yung royal, I think, historian and all, no? Tapos sabi niya gano'n, I want you to get the moon. So, ano na siya na, parang naniningil na siya ng utang na loob, no? Tapos, edi nag-compete din yung royal historian. Sabi niya, it's not possible, my king. Sabi niya gano'n. Okay? Tapos, pinatawag na naman yung isang royal officer, no? Please, we have to do something about this because pag hindi kumakain yung princess, hindi nakakatulog. I'm worried that she'll fall ill and she might die. Sabi niya gano'n. So please, can we do something about this? Okay? So, very distressed yung king, no? About what happened. So, habang inaaliw siya, no? Ina-entertain siya ng royal jester, yung payaso, yung official jester or payaso ng palasyo. Sabi ng jester, "My king, why are you sad?" Sabi niya gano'n. Tapos kwento niya, itong royal mathematician, itong royal sabi niya gano'n, hindi nila maggawa ng paraan to actually get the moon for my daughter. Ang sabi ng royal sabi ng royal jester, have you actually asked the princess what she means when she demanded you the moon? Sabi niya ganon. Have you asked her what she mean by that? Right? Tapos sabi niya gano'n nung king, oo nga no, sabi niya, can you ask her about it? Kasi sabi niya gano'n, hindi ko na lamang gagawin ko. So the royal jester went to the princess room and sabi niya, "Princess, I wonder what you mean when you said to get the moon. Where can we get the moon?" Sabi niya gano'n. Tapos sabi ng royal princess, sabi niya gano'n, "You don't get it." Sabi niya gano'n, "The moon is located just outside my window." Sabi niya gano'n, na malapit sabi niya sa doon sa tree outside my window. How far is it? Sabi niya gano'n. Sabi niya, it's bigger, it's almost as big as my thumb. So gumanon yung princess, no? So it's as big as my thumb. So I think that's what the moon looks like. And malapit lang siya, no? Sabi niya, hindi ko ma-understand why my father, the king, can't get it for me. It's just hanging almost at the window, no? The big tree outside my window. So ang ginawa ng jester, no? Sabi niya, pumunta siya sa smith, no? Sa panday. Tapos sabi niya, can you make me a moon like this? So gumawa. Tapos nung binigay sa princess, kinabukasan, the princess was well. No? However, that time, it's full moon. So mamayang gabi, makikita ulit yung moon. So stress na naman yung yung king, sabi niya gano'n. Paano sabi niya kung makita ng princess, malalaman niya nagsinungaling tayo that what we gave her, sabi niya gano'n, is not really a moon but just a fake moon, sabi niya gano'n. So, kinausap na naman yung royal mathematician. Sabi ng royal mathematician, bigyan natin siya ng eyeglasses for the whole week na black lang at wala talaga siya makikita. Para hindi niya makita, sabi niya, yung moon. Sabi nung king, no, that might be dangerous. Okay? Sabi naman nung royal historian, hindi maglagay na lang tayo ng curtain the whole sa palasyo para hindi niya makita yung sky. Okay, that's impractical kasi konti na lang na oras, hindi possible to build such a dome, no? Tapos yung isa, sabi niya gano'n, mag-fireworks na lang tayo buong gabi. Alright? Mag-fireworks na lang tayo buong gabi, sabi niya gano'n, para hindi niya makita yung moon. Alright? So again, ganoon na yung sitwasyon, no? The king was very distraught. Tapos ang nag-rescue is again the jester. Sabi niya gano'n, "My king, why are you sad?" Alright? So sabi niya gano'n, "Can you help me, royal jester, and talk to my daughter?" So gabi na, nakatingin yung princess doon sa labas, nakita niya yung moon, hawak-hawak niya yung moon na pendant ng kanyang necklace. Tapos sabi ng royal jester, "Princess, you're not sad even though you're seeing the moon outside." Sabi niya ganon. Tapos sabi ng princess, "Yeah." Sabi niya ganon, "But why? It seems that the moon with you is not true or it's fake." Sabi ng princess, "You silly, don't you understand?" Sabi niya ganon, "I realize that you pluck the moon outside. See," sabi niya ganon, "when you pluck the horn of the unicorn, it grows again." Sabi niya ganon. "When you cut the flowers, it grows again. So my understanding and I realize is that when you pluck the moon, it grew again." Alright? So that's why the title is Many Moons. So bakit ko binigay sa inyo itong story na to. Of course, yung thought na hindi tayo dapat nagsisinungaling. But what is important here is sometimes we diagnose so much, or ito yung agad na conclusion natin without understanding first what does that mean to that person, right? And so that's where the scores comes in sa mga assessment and all, no? Pinapakita nito, and we are being reminded that it is always very important to talk about the story of the person first. Kung halimbawa mataas ang kanyang depression score, okay, you want to understand bakit mataas ang kanyang depression score. Okay, there's always a story behind every scores, behind every numbers. All right, so I hope that that sums up our presentation for tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pastor Phil.
Thank you po, Pastor Philip.
Chat ka, thank you.
Thank you very much po again. Wait lang, nag-feedback tayo.
Pastora Paula.
Yan, Pastor Philip and Pastor Paula. Ayan, so grabe, ang ganda ng story, no? Tumatak ko sa kanyang, it is always very important to talk to the person first. Makinig muna. Tanungin muna siya, yan, bago tayo man-judge or bago tayo mag-advise. Yan, so thank you very much for that. So now, the room is now open po for questions. So pwede po tayong mag-chat, pwede rin po tayong mag-unmute. Ayan. Ganito kung makikita ko.
Yeah.
Ayan. So wag po tayong mahina, sagarin na po natin to last 2 Fridays na lang po. So if may mga questions po na nagka-pop up sa mind nyo ngayon, pwede din yung dun sa mga scores nyo kanina. Marami po tayong tinake na test ngayon, mga quiz. Ayan, napa-compute tuloy tayo, napa-calculate tuloy tayo ngayon. No? So kung may gusto po kayong tanungin din sa mga scores nyo, ayan, pwede po nating i-ask yun.
Ako po ulit.
Hello po.
Hi. I have a question.
Sige po, Sister Marty.
All right. How would I know? How would we know? Like kung ang kailangan nung tao ay advice or just listening? Kasi minsan like akala ko nakakapag helpful yung nagsasalita ako, yung pala hindi na like sabihan ka, Ma, you're not helping. Ganon. How would I know? Yun po.
Makinig na. And then, minsan kasi gusto.
Siguro sa therapy, kahit sa pagkikipagkwentuhan, no, and even, of course, sa therapy, laging nauuna ang listening. So we listen first. So hayaan natin i-proseso. Meron tayong mga empathic responses dyan, no, na it must have been hard for you. Mga validating statements, it must have been hard for you experiencing this. I'm sorry that you have to experience this. I wonder how you feel nung nagkikwento ka about this. No? So yung mga ganoong statements validates the person's experience. Okay? Ngayon, pag nagtanong siya, what should I do po? That's where your advice comes in. Kasi kung minsan na nangyayari sa atin, when we listen, meron na tayo agad nangyayari, dapat ito yung ginagawa niya. Hindi pa siya nagtatanong nung pwedeng, ano po sa tingin niyo yung pwede kong gawin? Agad-agad na tayo nagbibigay ng advice. So kung hanggat hindi pa niya tinatanong yon, huwag ka magbibigay. Right? Okay? Ngayon, kung halimbawa, hindi niya natanong yon after niyong mag-usap, okay lang yon, huwag kang mag-worry. Alright? Or pwede mong i-facilitate. So, I wonder, ano nga yung plano mo? Huwag mang gagaling sa'yo. Alright?
Nice,
So,
nice.
that's why we always see it at yung therapy and even counseling or yung pakikipag-usap coaching. It's always, may belief kasi tayo na alam na nung client or alam na ng tao yung sagot. Alright? So we are facilitating a medium and an opportunity na mag-draw out yun sa kanila. na hindi manggaga. So kahit alam mo na yung sagot, tatanungin mo, so what do you think you can do about this situation? Kapag sinabi niya parang dapat po ganito, okay, that makes sense, all right? Or how about this? Do you think you can also do this? So you're giving them options, all right? To actually choose what they can do. Ang exceptions lang dyan is of course pag suicidal, ano yung issue. No? Pag suicidal yan, dapat directive ka dyan. Hindi pwede yung giving them options, no? So, dapat
Urgent na
mag-act
yun.
ka na dyan, no? Call the parents, call the ganito, no? Refer them to a mental health professional. So, yun yung always exception. Pero kung hindi yan about suicide, no? Hindi niya hinaharm ang sarili niya, hindi niya i-harm yung ibang tao, always give them options. Napansin nyo, di ba sa mga kaibigan natin, pag ina-advisean natin sila, at the end of the day, maiinis ka kasi hindi nila ginagawa yung advice mo. Sound imposing, right? Okay? Pero kung sa tipong i-draw out natin yan sa kanila manggagaling, wala silang puso. Right? Okay? Even sa mga kids, no? Pag halimbawa, nagtatanong yung mga parents sa akin on what they can do with the kids. Sabi kong ganon, you can talk to the kids, magpa-meeting kayo, family meeting. Tapos sasabihin nyo, let the kids decide kung ano yung kanilang mga discipline measures pag ginawa nila yung mga behaviors na to. Pag halimbawa, level 1 na ganitong behavior, kayo ang mag-identify kung ano yung magiging discipline measures nyo, ano yung iti-take. So pag nangyari yon dahil nanggaling sa kanila, pwede mong ibalik yun sa kanila. O di ba kayo ang nag-identify niyaan? And nagkaroon tayo ng agreement. Right? Okay? So, yeah. So that's one way para hindi tayo ma-stress. Okay? So I hope po that answers your question, ma'am.
Yes, thank you, Pastor Philip. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Philip. Ayan, may nabasa nga din po ako sa, nakita ko siya sa podcast. Sabi doon, listen with the intention of listening, not with the intention of answering or advising. So kung if season for listening, you listen talaga. Kasi ako personally din po, nakarelate ako dun na parang pag may nag-open sa'yo, parang feeling mo talaga, okay, paano ko ipapasok to na kaya mo yan? Parang may pressure to do that. Pero yun nga po na tututunan ko ngayon na sometimes you just have to shut up. Alam mo yun, makinig ka lang muna talaga dun sa tao. So, ayun. And yun nga po, na thank you Pastor Philip dun na ano ko na dapat talaga hintayin mo muna sila once na sinabi na nila na ano bang dapat kong gawin. Pag nag-seek na ng help, ayun, that's when the time na we can offer parang advice. Ayan. Thank you din po, Sister Mardy, for the question. Ayan. Pero pa po bang...
additional, Nikki, no? Additional lang, Nikki. Pag ang pag-usap namin, bigla-bigla silang nagtanong, so ano pong kailangan kong gawin dito? Ano pong kailangan kong gawin? Without processing first their emotions. Huwag ka muna agad magbibigay ng sagot.
Okay po.
Kasi baka mamaya they're just looking for a quick fix. So you can answer, pag halimbawa sa una pa lang, mga 5 minutes, biglang tanong, so ano pong kailangan kong gawin? No? Okay, slow down. Okay, pag-usapan natin, ano ba yung nangyari?
So ask questions muna po na ma-identify nila yung emotion.
Try to understand what's happening. Because ganito. Okay, o sige, mamaya natin pag-usapan niya. Sige, ikwento mo lang sa akin, kapatid. Okay? Tapos para magkikwento na siya. Tapos pag bumalik siya ulit doon, so ano pa yung gagawin natin? Doon ka lang magbibigay ng some perspective.
Nice.
Pero kung halimbawa, first few minutes pa lang gusto na niyang malaman ang gagawin, naku, wag muna kasi baka quick fix yan. Alright? So ayaw natin ng mga quick fix.
So, quick fix. So, tingnan natin. Okay, thank you po, Pastor Philip. Actually, meron nga po akong kausap ngayon. Napapansin ko parang hindi siya nag-ask ng question. Wala siyang ganun na anong ating gagawin ko. Pero parang everyday, nagsasabi siya sa akin, ate, may anxiety na naman ako ngayon, ganyan. Nag-send pa nga siya ng picture. Tapos parang sabi niya, ang tawag dito, hindi daw siya kumain. May mga ganun po siya. So parang ako, minsan nasisin ko siya, sabi ko, ano pang dapat kong gawin na kaya mo yun, kumain ka lang? Ganun po ba? May mga ganun kasi siya na ang sinishare niya sa akin is, ate, nahirapan nga ako matulog kanina, hindi nga ako nakakain. Ano po ba kayang pwedeng sorry na, ito na po question na to, specific question ko na to na, ano pong pwedeng response doon? Parang ganun. Kapag nagkukwento siya about sa mga effect lang. Kwento lang naman, wala namang pa-advice or something.
it can be a cry for help, no? So, it can be a cry for help already. So, we have to take that seriously. Pag hindi na siya nakakain, hindi siya nakakatulog, that person might need medical or even mental health intervention. No? So, pwede mong sabihin pag ganoon, napansin ko for the past few days, laging ganoon yung sinasabi mo. Alright? How can I help? Siguro yun yung magandang tanong mo. So, how can I help? Alright? Kasi po ganito. Kasi concern ako, yung mga sinasabi mo parang symptoms na siya ng isang mental health concern. Hindi ko to sinasabi para takutin ka ha, pero siguro gusto mo ba na ma-refer kita sa counselor sa church namin para maproseso kung ano man itong nararamdaman mo? Alright?
Yes.
Oo.
Okay
Kasi
po.
ayoko din na, kung halimbawa, kasama to sa discipleship group mo, ayoko din na maging burden ka na baka paano kung anong mangyari dito, no, or something. So
Oo
mas
nga.
maganda kung i-refer out mo na siya. Or pag sinabi mo, how can I help? Baka it's actually a call for help, a cry for help for this
Right.
person.
Thank you po, Pastor. Ayan. So, i-chat ko na siya mamaya. How can I help? Ayan. So, sige po. May next question po ba tayo? May nag-chat yata. Tingnan ko lang. Ayan. Okay lang po, Isaiah. Ayan.
Kung may tatanong lang, ano lang naman to, very light lang.
Go, Pastor.
Pastor Phil, familiar ka ba dun sa kasi before merong nauso na book na Spirit Controlled Temperament by Tim LaHaye na ginagamit ng mga churches before pa yun. Yun pinag-usapan din yung sa how to assess yung mga personalities and temperaments. And then later on kasi pagka-Christian na, so there na ng Holy Spirit, 'di ba? Kasi syempre humahalo yung fruit of the Spirit eh. So
Para yung Pastor Mark, yung phlegmatic, melancholic, yung
yung mga ganyan, oo. So siya, valid ba siya na reliable ba siya na source for personality test?
Hindi ko alam kung saan nakuha yun ni Tim LaHaye, pero ang pagkakaalam ko yung mga phlegmatic, melancholic, that goes back to the Greek times, no? Yung mga konsepto na yon. So, importante kasi when we look at mga tests, mga questionnaires man yan, survey, or mga personality tests, more importantly, very important to look at their psychometric properties. I know na parang it sounds mathematics, So when you talk about psychometric properties, meron na bang mga journal articles na nasulat tungkol dyan? Okay? So, actually, okay lang din naman gamitin yan for fun. Pero, ang sa akin, wag siyang gagamitin, for example, sa pag-decide para sa isang leadership role. No? Halimbawa, ay nakuha ko sa MBTI, IFFJ siya. So, parang hindi yan sa leadership kasi ganito yung person. Yung ang point ko lang doon, pag gagamit tayo ng mga ganoong measurement to decide on, say, mga church positions or if we gonna hire this sa church, wag natin gagamitin yung mga test na hindi valid or hindi okay yung reliability. Kasi my feeling is that you are being unfair kasi baka mamaya hindi talaga yun yung nag-define doon sa tao and you are boxing the person. Okay? So, dapat careful tayo doon, no? Even sometimes yung natin, meron tayo yung mga test for spiritual gifts, di ba? Okay? Ako okay doon kasi parang we can also identify natin yung mga spiritual gifts natin. Kaya lang ang always doon when it comes to science kasi. Alright? Valid ba siya? Reliable ba siya? Okay? Kasi ako naman naniniwala ako na binigay ng Lord ang science to actually guide us din to give informed decisions. And of course, hindi natin tinatanggal yun yung importance ng fellowship, ng witness, ng Holy Spirit. Para halimbawa say magbigay tayo sa mga position sa ministry, yung mga ganun. Kasi pinagpipray pa din naman yun. Right? So, I hope that kind of answer your question po, Pastor Mark.
Oo nga, maganda nga yun kasi syempre pagka sa church, no, parang maganda na a-align yung mga tao kung saan talaga sila tinatawag ni Lord. And it helps them to know kung ano yung ano nila, kumbaga how they were made by God, no? Pero maganda rin talaga na ano na yun nga sinabi mo na to really seek kung ano talaga yung reliable. No? So it helps. Thank you, Pastor Phil.
Right. Okay, may tanong dito, no, Nikki, sa
Yes,
chat.
po yung sabi po dito ni Tana, question, share ko lang po yung friend ko, nagtitake siya ng anti-epileptic or anti-convulsant drug as maintenance niya. Then sinerch niya yung mga side effects po nung meds, nakalagay doon, suicidal thoughts and panic attacks. Nagpapa-advise po siya kung ititigil na niya ba yung gamot niya or what. Hindi ko po alam yung isasagot. Nakaka-feel po siya ng depression and paranoia.
Okay.
Wait lang, sorry, kasi I'm taking the same medicine. Anong brand ng medicine?
Nabanggit ba, Tana, yung brand daw ng medicine?
Ano ba yun? Yung parang Kepra? Kepra po. Or chat ko po.
Oo. Do you have something to say, Phil? May sasabihin lang ako. Quick.
Sige, go, Paula.
Oo, kasi I'm taking, sorry. I have to turn on. There we go. I'm taking the same medication. So, yun po yung sinasabi ko kanina na before I was taking, kasi I'm not sure kung para saan niya po tinitake. Is she or he taking it for like bipolar disorder?
Seizures po.
Sorry? Seizures?
Seizures.
Okay. Kasi like ako, in my case, I take anticonvulsant as my mood stabilizers. So, I'm not sure kung anong napag-usapan nila ng doctor niya. She has, like I said, you have to be honest with your doctor. Like, for example, ang mai-share ko lang dito yung experience ko. Kasi, we cannot, like, kunwari, nagtanong sa atin ang isang tao, tapos you're not taking the medication, tapos hindi ka naman medical practitioner, mahirap mag-advise na, itigil mo na lang yan. Kasi you can't just simply taper off from taking a medication, especially if it's a medication for the brain. Kasi nagkakaroon ng withdrawal, and minsan ang nagiging cause baka mas lalong magkaroon ng suicidal ideations or maging suicidal. So, like for example, in my case, before in 2019, from April until June 2019, I was taking Depakote. That's an anticonvulsant. I was taking that from as mood stabilizers, and maintenance medicine ko po kasi siya. So for someone with bipolar, I have to take it talaga daily, lifetime. It's like, injecting yourself with insulin kasi we have to manage the moods. It's not curing the bipolar disorder, but it's managing the symptoms that we have. Like especially the highs and lows. So, kaya lang, yung Depakote, the reason why I was asking for the brand, kasi minsan, yung brand, it affects also. So, in my case, I was taking Depakote. It's an anticonvulsant, but the side effects sa akin po, hindi ako nagkakaroon ng period, hindi ako mapakinabangan because lagi akong inaantok. It's just a term that I use, di mapakinabangan. Pero, sobrang antok ako lagi. It's like, I'm groggy and all that. So, parang, I started asking, sabi ko, should I have it changed? Now, what I did, I talked to my psychiatrist and told him na yun nga, it's not working for me kasi may mga ganitong side effects. So, yun po yung kailangan natin, yun po yung I think, let's ask Philip also, but yun po yung pwede nating i-advise na he or she might want to talk to his psychiatrist or doctor. Depakote din siya before, tinasan to, yeah, I'm familiar. So, mas okay na kausapin natin yung doctor natin, i-refer natin sila back to their doctors. Kasi only the doctors can help them figure out kung ano yung tamang cocktail of drug or ano yung tamang medication for them. So, after ng June, like what I experienced, nag-consult ako to a different psychiatrist kasi nga parang ang advice ng psychiatrist ko before, yung laking psychiatrist ko was to take a to take a drug holiday or like change the medication. Pero yun nga, I consulted this lady psychiatrist and it worked well for us. So we were supposed to check kung mag-work with me ang Tegretol or lithium. So we checked if Tegretol will work for me kung hindi ako magkakaroon ng allergies. It worked naman, although grabe yung initial niyang effect sa akin kasi like kapag meron pa pala ako so sobrang sensitive ko po to meds to a point na kahit 200 milligrams siya pwede akong matumba. I experienced that na talagang nahihilo ko, nasusuka na matutumba ako. As in madudulas na ako sa CR kasi as in matutumba po, ganun. Magko-collapse. So, we started with 200, in-increase yan to 300, to 400, to now na naka 600 po ako. Now, we had to taper off from Depakote kasi nga, and then slowly introduce sa system ko si Tegretol. So, yun po yung advice ko. Kasi if he or she is taking that as a maintenance medication, I don't think pwede na tanggalin siya. Di ba, Philip? Like,
Yes.
ikaw, lagi mo sinasabi sa akin, pagagalitan mo ako kung tumigil akong mag-medication. So, I don't think good advice na sabihin niya, sige, itigil mo na lang kasi hindi po tayo doktor para mag-prescribe kung dapat na bang itigil or not.
Yes, definitely. So nasabi naman na ni Paula yung mga kailangang sabihin. Kasi,
Let Phil sa chat box. I think
mm-mm.
you can read it. Takot daw sa doctor kasi madaming resita and mas comfortable sharing with friends. Hirap pag may tinitik naman. Oh, that's the you.
Yeah, pero kasi alam ko na parang nakakatakot yung minsan yung doctors, no? I hope that you can find a doctor, no, that who can work closely with you. When I say work closely with you, na parang pwede kang mag-text na parang, doc, ganito po yung nararamdaman ko and I'm worried, no, to give you some assurance. Kasi may mga doctors na ganon who can really work closely with you. And it is an ill advice to stop the medication just because you read something about the side effects. All right? Okay? So minsan kasi yan, hinahanap yung hiyang mo. Every individual, different ang reaction natin because of our genes, because of all this stuff. Iba yung ating mga reaction sa medication. Especially for those of seizures, yung mga brain-based na mga medication, no, for mental health disorders. Iba-iba. Kahit kung minsan halimbawa pareho kayong may bipolar, pareho kayo ng ganitong bipolar 1 or bipolar 2 man yan. Pero iba kung minsan yung yung medication, yung grams for each one. So depende
the grams,
siya
the brand.
Yeah. Yung iba meron sila okay sa kanila yung hindi parang may isa akong pasyente na nung binigyan siya ng mga mahal na brand, it didn't work for him. Madaming mga side effects. Pero nung binigyan siya nung medication na kumbaga yung ano bang tawag natin dun sa medication na hindi branded? Yung generic brand.
Right.
Oo, na medication, yun yung nag-work sa kanya. Pero doon sa isa kong pasyente, hindi nag-work yung generic. No? So, for some reason, may mga ganoong tayo. So, please don't stop the medication. Okay? Wag po tayong kahit na may ganoong. Bakit merong mga ganoong side effects? Again, depende yan sa natin, no, sa lifestyle natin before or kaya naman sa genes natin. So please work closely with your medical doctor. Okay? So kung doon sa mga depression na sa tingin mo nangyayari yun, baka naman hindi yun sa meds and more on sa environment that's happening. So baka kailangan mo din ng therapy, no? So yung ganoon. So those things are something that you can consider. Okay?
Yeah, I'll just add lang. Can you hear me po? Kasi naglolo ko yung internet ko. Yeah, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yes, we can hear you.
Siguro yung one thing lang, I have to turn off my camera kasi naglolo ko yung internet. But one thing lang din siguro, be patient when looking or when dun sa journey mo on finding the right drug or medication, drug cocktail or medication for you. Kasi sometimes it can really be parang frustrating finding yung tamang medication. Kasi parang, is it really gonna work? Is it really gonna work? Kasi bakit parang ito yung side effect nito, ito yung side effect na. And we have to be parang aware lang din talaga na lahat naman talaga ng medication may side effect. Parang you just choose what's, I think, livable for you. You're welcome po.
Okay po ba? Sorry, hindi ko narinig yung...
Mhm.
Okay na po, Pastora Paula. Tama. Ayan.
Yan, narinig
Ayan.
ko. Yeah.
Hello, naririnig po ba ako?
Yeah,
Yes,
we
So,
can hear you,
Ayan,
Nikki.
sorry.
loud and
Ayan.
clear.
So, sige po. Thank you. Thank you po again, Pastor Philip and Pastora Paula. And of course, sa lahat po ng mga nag-ask ng question. So, sa mga iba po, i-reserve po natin yun sa last Friday natin with them. Next Friday po. And I hope marami pa po tayong i-invite para ma-educate tayo, para ma-enlighten po tayo. And ayun, alam ko po busog na busog po tayo ngayon. Tayong mga 18 attendees dito again. Thank you po again, Pastor Philip and Pastora Paula. Ayan. So, sige, pray lang po tayo to close the program. Ayan, let's pray. Father in heaven, marami pong salamat, Lord, once again for this time, Lord. Salamat po, Lord, God, for educating us, Lord. Salamat po, Lord, na ginamit mo po itong mga taong ito, Lord God, to educate us, Lord God, to enlighten us, Father God. And I hope, Panginoon, na gamitin niyo po itong mga knowledge, Lord, and wisdom, Lord God, ito sa buhay namin, Father God. And kung sino man, may mga tao man, Lord God, na may encounter po kami this week, I pray, Father God, that you just guide us, Lord, and ma-apply po namin itong mga natututunan po namin, Father God. We pray, Lord God, again for Pastor Philip and Pastora Paula, Lord God. I pray that you just continue to bless them, Lord God, to enlarge their circle, Father God. Guide them, their family, Father God, their work, Lord God, their ministry, Panginoon. And we know, Lord God, na kayo po ang may hawak, Lord God, ng kanilang buhay, Panginoon. Marami pong salamat, Lord God. We are thankful for this series. We are thankful for this ministry, Panginoon. Thank you for this opportunity, Lord God, na binigay niyo po, Panginoon, sa amin. Marami pong salamat, Father God. May you guide each and everyone, Lord God, for the rest of this weekend, Panginoon. Magkikita-kita po ulit kami, Lord God, next Friday na kami excited, Father God, to learn, Lord God, from this again, Lord. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Ayan, so stay lang po tayo for picture taking.